Yeah, so the past year, they're down 2%, which 2% doesn't seem like a lot, but when you've been gaining and growing and like being flat was bad, being down at all is really bad. And it's gotten so bad that for the first time in as long as anybody can remember, Saks Fifth Avenue is canceling their annual light show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Business Lunch with your host Ryan Dice and myself, Roland Frasier. Wonderful to be here chatting about fun things. Ryan, what are we going to talk about today?
I want to talk about your favorite subject.
Ooh, synthesizers.
Close. No, luxury. Luxury items.
Nice.
You know the kind. The Hermes, the Patek Philippe's of the world, the Rolls Royces, all of these things. No, so I did not know this, but Bain and Company every year puts out a luxury report
Nice.
on this. I'm guessing, and apparently luxury has been doing. I think we did know this. Luxury has been doing pretty phenomenal over the past decade and a half. I mean,
but
just
had a
luxury
hard time
brand.
the past year, as far as I understand.
Yeah, so the past year they're down 2%. Which 2% doesn't seem like a lot, but when you've been gaining and growing and being flat was bad, being down at all is really bad. And it's gotten so bad that for the first time in as long as anybody can remember, Saks Fifth Avenue is canceling their annual light show.
What?
Which my wife and daughters, they were out there last year, love it. It's a holiday tradition, and they're canceling it, presumably because they're freaking broke. So luxury is hurting.
Can I be
They're
snobby
hurting
for a minute? Because I think you know.
Let's be snobby. Let's be.
Man,
I was
Saks
hoping
Fifth
you
Avenue is not luxury. I'm sorry. It's not bargain, but it's not luxury.
Saks is not. It's like
maybe
it's
like in the 80s.
Baller on a budget.
It is maybe in the 80s, but Saks and Bloomies, both just not what they once were. You gotta go back 40 years to where they're arguably making the turn out of luxury.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, they're apparently hurt. It's trickling down to the baller on a budget brands as well. But so here's the question. The last time that luxury went in decline was 2009.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember what happened in 2009, but it was a pretty beefy recession.
Really took off.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Pretty tough recession. They're blaming it on two things. Number one, China. China's been hurting. And number two, Gen Z. Apparently just they don't seem to care about brands, at all. I don't buy that one as much because they said the same thing about millennials. And then millennials all got jobs. And guess what? They wanted to signal just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
They say this about every freaking generation. Like, ooh, the young generation doesn't. Yeah, exactly. When you're poor, you don't care about luxury because you can't afford it.
They do care about brands. It's just the brands are Fisher Price and whoever's making toys, and then the brands are whoever's making the hot up and coming thing. The Stanley Love Shack Tumbler, collab, and it's different kinds of brands. So the 12-year-old is not yet hooked on Louis Vuitton or Chanel or Hermes or whatever, but that's. I agree with you. That doesn't make any sense. It's that you're trying to put it on way too early.
Right. So I'm not buying because they did say the same thing about millennials. And millennials, they get some money, they get some promotions, and they want to signal success just like, Gen Zs and boomers. So I'm sorry, Gen X and boomers. So obviously what we're looking at here is this has been an indication of recession. I just want to get your take, on this. What do you think that is this just kind of much ado about nothing? What do you think?
Well, I feel like we also saw a bit of it in the pandemic where people were moving down brand. So like they would go try to find the same thing that there was a brand premium on that had functionality that was less expensive. So I think
there was a brief blip in the pandemic. You're right. They mentioned that. There's a brief blip, and then the government gave everybody free money, and boy, did it pop back up again. Yeah. So that was a brief blip.
So I like kind of thinking about that plus 2009 plus the others that we've seen in our time. I believe it's not going to be the case because I think following the results of the recent election and looking at the stock market and Bitcoin and everything, everybody thinks it's another go-go 4 years at least. So I don't see that that's going to happen. I definitely think it was on its way to, because people were panicked about high inflation. Would it continue? Would the policies that created that continue? With inflation, real estate going up, and stocks peaking, it was just a really interesting time. And so I think that a lot of people had to redirect a lot of their money, a lot of their money, to just buying the things they were already buying. And so they weren't making those discretionary luxury buys. But and yes, the free money, I think, accelerated it. Like, you go into a bar and there's no Jose Cuervo. I mean, no, what is it? No Clase Azul. We don't have any because, everybody's been buying shots of the $100, black bottle Clase Azul. And that's where the free money went. The free money went into frivolity like that. And also, I think in the pandemic, comfort buys. I deserve something, and I got a little bit extra money. I got $1,200 check from the government. I'm gonna get 12 shots of that liquor, or I'm gonna buy that $1,000 inflated pair of tennis shoes that dropped by Nike at $100, and that's gone, and not likely to return unless the free money returns. So I don't know, man. I feel like it's going to stabilize, but I also think that you have brands like Louis Vuitton that made the mistake that Nike made, which I just read a big article on Nike, kind of the fall of Nike's drop culture, that when was it Parker that was CEO left and the new guy came in. The new guy was from Bain, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but basically said, go. He came in and was like, let's make all the shoes available to everybody, and let's kill all of our partnerships with all of the distributors and open Nike stores and do all that. And Peloton did the same thing, because it's all going to continue. That's gone. And if the luxury brand is playing the playbook that those guys played, and I think some of them are, I believe they are destined to end up the same way. And the classic ones, like a lot of the other LVMH brands in that brand portfolio, will be fine, and the Chanels and the Hermeses, I think, are going to do fine. It's just that what would you call it, like a fringe or the bridge luxury brands, the ones that are like hop up, like Coach and those kinds of things, I think they're going to have a hard time because there's no scarcity. But there's actually real scarcity with some of those other guys, and there's not with Louis Vuitton, mostly because they've been knocked off just so much, and they've allowed that to happen. So it'll be interesting to see, but I personally don't think so.
So they also said, and I thought this was interesting, that spending as a whole hasn't changed dramatically. It's shifted into more experiences like travel and experiential goods like yachts and cars. So
Yep.
Good to see that people are still buying yachts. And that kind of down market, customers continue to purchase, and this is the point you were making before, small indulgences like beauty, fragrance, and eyewear. And they call this the lipstick effect, the phenomenon where people spend more on smaller goods. So they're kind of buying those things up. So I'd love to know, like, from your perspective, do you think that this, and we're making predictions here, do you think that this speaks to what the last year was like? Or do you think it also informs what the next year is going to be like? Because this happened in 2009 was kind of the last time we saw this. And then also during the COVID recession. But if you look at 2010 was great, right? 2010, we came out of it. So
I think you're absolutely
is this kind of the last gasp of the end of a recession, or is it kind of a signal of like, oh man, we're going in? What do you think?
I agree with you. I think it's the carryover effect from the last year and everything that's come up. But I think the go forward is normal. And I think, I will say, like I told you, I had a car that I went and got custom designed, and when it came in and you didn't know the price, you didn't have to commit to it. but you didn't know the price until it came in. And it came in, and I think that the danger is that some of these luxury brands are still living in the inflationary times of 21, 22. And so this came in, and I'm a repeat buyer for this, for this brand. And yet it came in at, let's see, it would be 30% more than the one that I bought 4 years ago. And because interest rates have more than doubled, the payment on it was 50% higher than it was 4 years ago. So I said, no, I could afford it, but it just didn't seem worth it.
And it's hard for you to get sticker shock. You don't get sticker shock very easily.
It's value shock.
You're pretty uppity.
I'm pretty uppity, but it's a value prop. Their value prop didn't change. So I have the same car that I had 4 years ago with a slight body change for 30% more than I paid 4 years ago, and 50% more than I paid last month when I had the old one. I can't look at that and say that the value justifies. It just feels like you're being screwed. So to me, it's like, I just was like, no. And I think this time next year, I'll be able to get it exactly what I got the one, 4 years ago for. And I'm okay waiting, So I think that there is a risk that if we're going to talk luxury, so forgive the things I talk about.